Hello and welcome to Lois Ancestral. Today's video is about how authenticity leads to belonging. So at the end of the video, I will come to a conclusion about how authenticity leads to belonging, but so you can better understand the mechanics of authenticity and how it leads to belonging, I'm going to break it down into a few important points so that you can understand the anatomy of inauthenticity and authenticity, and finally, how that leads to belonging, or at least how that is the potential. So, let's begin by exploring the opposite. What is the opposite of authenticity? Inauthenticity. So we're going to begin by looking at what causes inauthenticity, because that's very important. So when we choose into this kind of life experience here on earth, we opt into conditions that cause the opposite of what we want, so that we can better understand what it is that we do want and then go in that direction. So someone whose life path is designed to include authenticity is going to opt into conditions that cause inauthenticity. So let's talk about this on an earthly level. So what causes inauthenticity? What are those conditions that cause inauthenticity? It's socialization. It is the process of social norms, going after confluence with people that we live with and we are with in our environment, that causes inauthenticity. Now, how do those conditions cause inauthenticity? So, for example, in the family system, if your authentic qualities, parts of you, certain emotions that you have, certain gifts, certain talents, certain traits are not so favorited in the family that you grow up in, you are going to abandon these aspects, suppress them, compartmentalize them, fragment away from them, and maintain an inauthentic persona in order to stay close with your family, with your friends, with the social groups that you belong with, because that is how you ensure your survival. That is how you ensure that your needs are met. Now, why does this cause inauthenticity? Because the consequences of being authentic were dangerous to your survival as a child, so you adopted an inauthentic way of being in order to ensure your own survival. If I just hide these parts of me that get me in trouble, get me shamed, that cause negative consequences, or that I am led to believe are bad and wrong, basically anything that is not liked, not welcome, not accepted by the people that you grow up with is going to be pushed to one side. The consciousness is going to put it away somewhere out of sight so that you can present all of the traits that keep you safe. Because as a child, as a human child, your survival depends on this, because we are a relational species, and if things are not good with the people that you are in relation with, that's a threat to you getting your needs met. That could lead to abandonment, that could lead to rejection, that could lead to neglect, that could lead to abuse, all of these things. So what you're doing is trying to avoid negative consequences, sustain confluence, and belong, stay together with, maintain closeness with the people on which your life depends. Because as humans, our life depends on the connections that we have. So, what is the consequences of sustaining inauthenticity? So the very mechanism that kept you safe when you were around your family, the friends who you do that with, all of the social situations where you sustain this inauthenticity, what are the consequences of doing so? Because this mechanism that once kept you safe is now the very thing that is harming you. Because if you keep only presenting the parts of you that are seen as good and right, and you keep rejecting in yourself the parts that were deemed bad and wrong by outside, this is the message that we receive as children. These parts are good and right, those parts are bad and wrong, and me being good and right is what my survival depends on, so I must not be bad and wrong. But what's the consequences of sustaining that? You are actually only able to find relationships that keep demanding this of you. So they are going to keep re-traumatizing these parts of you if you are to bring them out. So you keep them down, and all you can attract are familial, social situations. This is why we play out the dynamics that we experienced in childhood over and over again, because we're still acting out the same ways of relating, we're still putting forward the same protector personalities. What we're used to happening is all that we can create because we're doing the same thing over and over again. But this time, instead of it being the environment that's imposing that, it's that we're actually continuing ourselves to treat ourselves the way that we were taught is the right way to treat a human. It's a combination of that. It's also that the outside is still acting that way too. But as you get older, you have, of course, more power. Because when you are in a family home and you get extradited, it's a serious situation, a child with no parents, and the consequences are very serious. Whereas if you are an adult and you get rejected from a social group, you are actually able to recreate what you need in another way. But we function as though we are still children, trapped in a powerless situation because that's what the experience feels like. So the consequence of inauthenticity is sustaining that powerlessness, allowing the dynamics that hurt you to continue, and also not giving the other people an opportunity to receive the impact of your authenticity and to collaborate in everyone coming out of inauthenticity into authenticity. So the consequences are sustaining inauthenticity as the only way of being and subjecting yourself to only attracting relationships where you must be inauthentic in order to sustain them. Relationships that do not directly meet your needs, and parts of you are not even allowed into that relationship. So those parts of you remain isolated inside of you. Also mirroring outside as social isolation, as people being together but feeling lonely while they're together, people being together but feeling lonely while they're together, or feeling like there's a part of you that can't be included in the connection, or even isolation where you cannot manifest people to be with. So the consequences of inauthenticity the stakes are quite high. So then, what is the risk of authenticity? So the risk of authenticity is that as you re-own these parts of you that have not been allowed, approved of, accepted, loved from the outside, as you re-own those parts and you present them to the world in these relationships where what is expected of you is this inauthenticity, a risk is that you create an impact which supports the other person to connect with the parts of them that mirror the shamed parts of you. And so it can put people in touch with their negative emotions that have been suppressed, their positive emotions, and it can confront people with the idea of being bad and wrong if you are re-owning the parts inside of you that people have judged to be bad and wrong. So it can be quite confronting for other people, authenticity, which can mean that you can lose the relationships that are not in support and in favor of your authenticity. Now, from one level of consciousness, that's a risk. From another level of consciousness, that's a blessing. So you could lose relationships that expect you to be inauthentic. You could trigger other people into connecting with lost parts of themselves. Another risk of authenticity, though, is that the people who you are in relation with could open to your authenticity and could come on board with the process of their own authenticity and could really make meaningful moments of reconciliation with themselves and with you and with each other. And it can be powerful for you also to re-own those parts of you and to connect with what it feels like to advocate for yourself. So it is possible that some of the old relationships can go through processes of reconciliation as you are reconciling on the inside between the parts of you and advocating for them and allowing them to express. It can also mean that you lose the relationships with people who can't do that. So it can be losing relationships that don't support your authenticity. It can be going through beautiful moments of reconciliation with yourself and with them and with each other. It can also mean that you end up completely alone because your authenticity is so triggering for everyone else and no one likes you. It is a risk. I'm telling you all of the risks. I was going to do 2 points where it was the risks of authenticity and the potential payoffs of authenticity, but I've started to blend them into 1 point. So we can recognize that reconciliation with people who you previously had relationships with who are opening to you is a payoff. A risk, a payoff, whatever you want to call it. So now I am going to say another payoff, a potential payoff of authenticity is that you connect with such integrity that you don't give a shit whether you are alone or with people, because your authenticity and how it feels to re-own and love those parts of you is worth more to you than whether or not other people have the capacity to love you in the way that you deserve. Another payoff, a potential payoff of authenticity is that you begin to attract new people into your life who have the capacity to meet you where you are, who are also connecting with authenticity themselves, and that you can have deeper, more meaningful relationships where people are open to your authenticity and they encourage it and they support it. And you help each other to heal from the pain of not being allowed to be authentic in the past. So together, you each internally reconcile with the parts of you that have not been allowed, and you advocate for them and you expose them and you express them, and you also go through experiences of healing together, and you also empower each other and you advocate for each other. That's a potential payoff of authenticity. There's always a risk with authenticity of polarizing people. Some people hate it, some people love it. I share with you the risks and the potential payoffs of authenticity. So, when it comes to authenticity, this is a very important question to reflect on yourself. What's more important to me? Inauthenticity and sustaining relationships based on that because I'm afraid of losing that, or authenticity, even if it means that I end up alone, it may also mean that I attract the best relationships possible for me. What's more important, inauthenticity or authenticity? And once you decide what's more important for you, inauthenticity or authenticity, are you willing to look at the risks and consequences and potential payoffs? Choose what's most important to you and take that risk. Face those consequences. Open yourself to receive that potential payoff, whether it does or doesn't happen. Now, when it comes to this time-space reality, choices that we make have risk, they have consequences, they have potential payoffs. Nothing is completely known or guaranteed, and I can't take that risk away for you. Although oftentimes I wish that I could, and for myself too, but I can't. So, as promised, I told you that I would explain to you how authenticity leads to belonging, potentially. So, in a universe, in a time-space reality that is governed by the law of attraction, known also as the law of mirroring. So if this reality mirrors back to me what I am, what if I own and love all parts of me and show up to the world authentically in this way? How likely is it that that mirror is going to reflect back to me belonging? The possibility of belonging is on the other side of the gate, the other side of the risk, the other side of the potential consequences, the other side of opening to the potential payoff. Is on the other side of choosing authenticity. Belonging is not about, I choose belonging as long as belonging is on the other side of this choice to be authentic. Because if you choose inauthenticity, that's where you'll belong. If you choose authenticity, that's where you'll belong. It is just not known exactly what that looks like for each and every person. But it is known that human beings are a tribal, relational species, and that Source, the universe at large, wants to support us to be well, and we thrive in intentional communities and tribes. Belonging is a quality of who we are as individual fragments of the larger whole. We are one and we belong together. Authenticity supports us to take our place, our integral place in that whole, and collaborate with oneness, with belonging, and with the life that is possible to live when we allow all parts of us to be as they are and to become aware of each other and to develop new ways of relating, to consider the best interests of each part and person and being, to consider the needs of each part and person and being, and to act in favor of them with solutions that create win-win possibilities for all involved, and to gather in compatible tribes with mutual desires so that we can fulfill our highest potential. That is the potential payoff of authenticity. So, thank you so much for being here. I love to connect with you all. Let's connect with each other. Let's talk to each other. In the comments down below is an amazing space where we can be authentic, if you dare. I invite authenticity here. That's what will be compatible with my energy. It's totally okay if you would like to choose inauthenticity. However, authenticity is what is going to feel most compatible with me. So I invite authentic connection in the comments for us to practice integrative spirituality together, for us to practice mastering relationships together, for us to orient ourselves towards intentional tribes, and for us to experiment with and discover that it's possible for humans to connect and belong and be authentic, that it's possible to have me and have you too and have us, that it's not necessary to sacrifice parts of ourselves, and that it hurts them and it hurts us and nobody wins if we do that. The way that we win is if we all win, because if one part loses, everyone loses. So, thank you for interacting with this video. If you love what I'm about and you resonate with it and you want to support me to bring my vision more and more to life in the world through events, through communities, through sustaining my channel and things like this, then I invite you to donate to my PayPal in the description box below. I love what I'm doing. It feels so in alignment with my values and my priorities. I would love to know what video you would like to see next, so I'm taking ideas that I will consider when I'm also deciding what feels good for me to express. Let's see what win-win we can create as to what concepts, ideas, values, theories, themes we can discuss next in the next video. So take care of yourself in the best way that you can. I love you lots. Namaste. Bye for now.